place for national and individual pride. Countries claim the bragging rights and count for the number of gold, silver, or bronze medals they've won, while Ghana's poor showing at the global event has drawn criticism from authorities. So how do we break the barrier and start shining at the Olympics is the subject of our discussion today. But first, let's take you to Jamestown. Many are those who give up when they encounter a challenge, but not 18-year-old Letitia Ankra. After dropping out of school at class 3, she now wants to be one of the world's best female boxers. Maxwell Agbagba has come through with this report.
Her peers are in school studying. Her aspirations of becoming an engineer was truncated in class 3. Like her friends, she is pregnant, not with a baby, but with big dreams, including becoming the world's best female boxer. It is 3 p.m. here in Jamestown. 18-year-old Letitia Ankra is getting ready to go and train. The inscription House of Pain on the wall of the training gym here is potent enough to ward off first-time visitors. Here in this building, Letitia gears up to take daily lessons in right and left jabs, blocks, hooks, and more. Against this punching bag, she punches away her pain of dropping out of school. The desire to become a world champion is on course. Letitia cannot speak English, not what you even call broken English or pidgin.
When Pascal ya castri, mbawa loni ko, loni Pascal ya castri.
No, mami ko papa.
Funny.
I stopped schooling in class 3. I don't have anyone to support me. My mom sells rice and my dad is a fisherman. I do not enjoy any support from them. My parents did not show any interest in my education, so I decided to pursue a career in boxing. I will box till I grow old and weak. I want to be the best and travel all over the world. We all have choices. Some love football, others love tennis, and I love boxing.
Napoleon Ayatego is a former boxer and the owner of the Real Power Boxing Gym where Letitia trains. Tego, who lost his eye during a bout, tells me some of the risks Letitia is likely to face.
Juan Carlos Gomez, the former world champion in Germany.
Which year was that?
Yeah, 11 December 1999.
So what exactly happened on that day?
Yeah, that fight, I got this problem, high problem. 5th round, I got this problem. It's a circle. So, 14 seconds to the time, it broke, it punched me, and then boom, with the left bow come straight to my, and then I fall down. Then I wake up and I see the pop. From then I see my legs start shaking. After that I see that I can't do anything. They are not plenty here, so I cannot get far. He trained with the men and the national team. He's always there. I saw him doing the training with the national team. So he can sometimes fight with the men. So how can you get a fight to fight? I can do there's a tournament. She won't get a female girl to fight.
Napoleon Hills once said that do not be afraid of little opposition. Remember that a kite of success generally rises against the wind of adversity. That is exactly what Letitia Ankra is doing. Though she had her education truncated at class 3, she is determined to make it happen. Her hope is that one day she will achieve and attain the world's biggest feat in boxing. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
see someone trying to be a boxer, Maxwell. But anyway, tell us the bigger story here about how young ones are trying to be great. But is it that easy? Can we repeat what we could have done at the 2016 Olympics as far back as in the 70s when Ghana won a medal in boxing in Olympics? Well, joining me today in the studio is a man who is an international boxing ring announcer, also here with us here at Joy Sports. Nathaniel Lato, good afternoon to you.
Hi.
And I'm sure you understand these issues in boxing a lot more better than anyone else. Well, as one else will join us sometime later via Skype for some quick insight into this conversation. But let's begin with how to hone talents like Letitia from becoming raw to world greats. Is it that easy? Are the conditions there enough to have it happen?
First of all, amateur boxing is the building block of professional boxing. So you have to start from there. What happens in amateur boxing in this country? The coaches and the trainers in the various gyms. I mean, we've seen some pictures from Napoleon Tego's gym in, off the high street in Accra. And you know the kinds of inadequacies they have. Some of them have side businesses that they do to support the boxing. Others do not have it. So they'd have to wait for several years in quotes for business to come, as in for a bout, one of their boxers to go into a bout, they get some peanuts and they're able to support their respective gyms with them, you see. So it's a very difficult and tough situation, so that these boxers, these amateur boxers come into these gyms. I mean, they have to wait for the professionals to finish. They're taking through various the rudiments and the fundamentals. They pick them up and gradually they grow their skill. How big is the competitive calendar in amateur boxing in the country? Not so big, because it's only here in Greater Accra where people like Gideon Quote, who now heads the Amateur Federation in Ghana, had an idea of the Greater Accra Boxing League. And he was the one who had it more prolonged than anyone else, used his own resources and all of that, where we had Friday night bouts at the prison's canteen. You understand me? So over there was competitive opportunities for these young ones. But you see, beyond that, after fighting within the country, you need to start stepping out. You need to start stepping into the sub-region, onto the African continent, and then onto IBA organized tournaments. IBA is the world governing body. You get me? So all of these channels are not there. Even if they are very limited, and we don't have that fluid path to the top.
So it means that for anyone who is like Letitia, who wants to become a world, top legend in boxing, it's virtually mission impossible.
The male boxers already, and I'm sorry, this is never sexist, this is never discriminatory. The male boxers themselves are having challenges. And we know that in this country, after the mid-90s, we've had major challenges trying to even grow female boxers. In the last set of amateur boxers in the national team who tried to make it to the Rio Olympics, we had two female boxers. Unfortunately, the government couldn't give them the funds to travel to Azerbaijan for the last qualifier for the Olympics. So when you put all of this in perspective, there's a very tough path. But what I admire about this young boxer, Letitia, is that she has the willpower. And willpower does everything. Let me just quickly take you to the sprints that we saw. The US team and how they fluffed the ladies relay team and how they fluffed it. I mean, imagine that you are in a very good lane and you are going up against these heavyweights and they fluffed, against everyone's expectations. You just pick it up and you surprise everybody and you make it into the final. And that's exactly what happens. So it's going to be tough, but once she's decided to do that, clearly there'll be these very, very small openings, which is a few competitions here and there where she will get the opportunity to first of all fight. Because remember, we have very few female boxers in Ghana. So there is that limited competitive opportunity. Away from that, when you go onto the African continent, how many boxers are coming from Togo, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and the like, who you can, continuously fight with and better your skill before you get onto the bigger scene or the bigger level. You understand me? So it's a very, very tough thing. But what is important is that people who are into sports management, the managers and all of that, one very good one, like Michael Amubediako, who's managing potential world champion Richard Comey, can grab her and gradually see her through the stages. You understand me? I think that one of the best things that can be done is that by one means or the other, if she's able to attach to a good team, a good amateur boxing team, like the Greater Accra boxing team, which is the most prominent in the country, they once in a while they're able to get these international tournaments, maybe like in the sub-region or sometimes even Africa, outside of Africa. And you never know, somebody may discover her and they may pick her, and and at the end of the day, the UK is always a good place. The United States of America is the heartthrob of boxing in the world. You understand me?
And
so,
that could be it.
Yeah, sure.
But Nathal, you see, this also brings to the fore the issue of how we treat our sport and grow it from the basics, so we get to not just represent but win things. Are we approaching it the right way in saying that, look, let's invest properly, get medals, and make it competitive?
Francis, we have not, as a nation, we have not identified sport as an industry, and that is where the problem begins. Once we sit back and we identify sport as a whole big industry, then we're talking business. Because once we do that, we're getting our educational system right, so that our tertiary institutions are offering the needed courses in sports management, in sports marketing, in sports tourism, in all of these other, sports medicine, for instance. Okay,
so we see that's a business.
Away from that, we need the infrastructure, and then after that, we need promotional mechanisms. You understand me?
So that the talents
we have tourism ambassadors. And I'm glad that someone like Abeku Santana, who is a colleague in the media, for instance, has very, very good ideas when you speak to him about sports tourism and what we can make out of all of these competitions that we have here. So we have the infrastructure. Look at the Cape Coast Stadium, for instance. Cape Coast has a very big chunk of our biggest educational institutions at the second cycle level. And you know that education goes with sport. Sport is best grown from the foundation level, which is education, from the educational institutions. So can you imagine one day if we're all able to work together to make sure that the central regional...
Nathaniel, let me just bring in the boxing legend Azuma Nelson, joining us via Skype. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Nelson. Thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon on this subject. We're talking boxing here, and the young talents we've seen in Jamestown, Letitia being an example. Is there really hope for people like her in the sport of boxing to rise and become greats like you?
Yeah, good evening, my brothers. Yes, no, we have a lot of talent in Ghana, not only Bukom or whatever, but in Ghana we have a lot of talent. How are we taking care of them, before they become a champion? If you have a child, you want your child to go to university. You don't take your child to
a boxing gym,
middle school, and then from middle school you take them to university. No, you take off the child gradually, before you get to the level of university. And so if somebody take his child to middle school, secondary school, and university, and you take it from middle school to university, why do you expect your child
They're
to
great. Okay,
pass?
so briefly, Mr. Nelson, in just 10 or 15 seconds, if you can, what should we do now so people like Letitia can actually get it right and we get to hone some more talents and win things?
We need to know what we are doing. First of all, the people that they are putting in that position are the right people. They know what they are doing. Is the children that they want them to be the champions? Are they taking good care of them? How their food, how they prepare for them, their food, how they sleep, what time they sleep. I remember, a couple years ago, one of these boxers were they planning to go to games. They come from the house and come to the gym and go home. When they go home, they hit by a car, and nobody mind him. One of the radio stations took all this.
I think it was Joy FM that did it. Yeah, I remember that.
And
Sure.
It's sad. It's painful.
And that has to change. Okay. Unfortunately, Mr. Nelson, I've run out of time, but thank you for your contribution to this conversation. So clearly, we need the right people to get the job done. Nathaniel, I've run out of time, but thank you for sharing that perspective with us. An international boxing ring announcer. He doesn't just talk sports, he lives it as well. But that will be it for us today here on The Pulse. My name is Francis Alban. For more news, you can log on to myjournalline.com.